Okay, so dear friends, I'm happy to greet all of you here to do a small talk, small and friendly talk organized by Volt here in the beautiful Masdar City, and to talk about energy transition and technologies and energy transition and our role in that. All of you know that this year is very, very important for the UAE and for those who reside in UAE because there are two main things, right? The first one is, the president of Arab Emirates announced this year to be the year of sustainability. So it's an opportunity for all of us to showcase our technologies, our approach to green energy and sustainability. And the second, great news is that actually COP28, the Congress of the Parties for Climate Change, is assembling here in Dubai, and it's a great opportunity to take a spotlight on those who do energy transition technologies and make an impact in it. So I would like to introduce those who are participating now. The first one is Steve Severance, Head of Program Management and Investments at Masdar City. Hello, Suleiman. Suleiman is an acting Managing Director at Catalyst, which is a Masdar and BP initiative. Mr. Chung, a very well-known expert who participated in global climate change negotiations since 1991. A former climate change ambassador of Korea and advisor to United Secretary General Mr. Ban Ki-moon, and also who received a personal copy of Nobel Prize for Peace Prize Award 2007 for recognition of contribution to IPCC reports. Vladimir Linchik, co-founder of Volt UAE, company headquartered here in Masdar City. Mr. Oleg Budargin, Deputy Chairman at the Global Energy Interconnection Development and Cooperation Organization. And myself, Artem Denisov, also co-founder of Volt. So thank you again for gathering here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. So actually yesterday some of us met together with Mr. Chung with COP28 strategy team, which definitely gave us an overview for the plans of this important event this year. And I would like to propose to have a discussion about our plans for this year and what we want to do in terms of our projects and things that we are participating in. Everyone the same question. So we at Volt and in Masdar, I would say, care a lot about popularization of green energy and sustainable approach to living. But I would say that, there are a lot of barriers in promoting everyone's willingness to greener consumption. What do you think, how should we make it more trendy and attractive? And let's start from Steve.
Well, I certainly think you've seen a change in attitude in this region since we started at Masdar City. And I've been here for 13 years, but Masdar as an initiative was founded 16 years ago. And it was founded by the chairman of Masdar, Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber, who's now the president of COP28. And so you've seen a real change in the region and their attitudes. When we started, people laughed at us. What are you, crazy? Why would you do something sustainable? Why would you put 10 megawatts of solar in to power this city? Why would you worry about building energy consumption? You have all the oil you could ever need. And by the way, that's true. There is all the oil we could ever need here in Abu Dhabi. Right. But Abu Dhabi didn't view oil as the future. Oil is the past, oil is the present. We can't go away from oil tomorrow. But long term, we need a transition from oil, and Abu Dhabi wanted to start that transition here at Masdar. So 16 years ago, it was a vision of the leadership and a sign of commitment to that change. But now you've seen where if you do a large-scale project, if you do a flagship project in this region, you have to say, hey, we're sustainable. Hey, we're sustainable. 16 years ago, you didn't have to. You could just say, we're awesome, we're beautiful, we're bigger, we're better, we're faster. Now you have to add those and say, and we are sustainable. And I think that that's a testament to what Masdar has done in showing that sustainability is not a cost, it's actually a business advantage. That you people want to be associated with sustainability, even if sometimes they don't know how, and even if sometimes, and I think one of the ideas that Mr. Chung talked about is they don't know exactly what price point they'll pay for that, but we need to let them know, especially at Masdar, that you don't have to compromise on the economics, you don't have to compromise on your lifestyle. You can come to Masdar and live a more sustainable life.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for this answer. You've talked a lot about Masdar, and actually Masdar is a city that is a sustainable one, right? So I want to ask you one more question. Actually, nowadays, about 56% of the global population lives in cities, and the number gets bigger. So by 2030, it's going to be like 70%. What they say. So, do you have some advices for the cities to become more sustainable? Maybe based on your experience here in Masdar City, some of the technologies, some of the life hacks, and the advice.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say plan cities. What Masdar does differently, I think, is we start with the blank piece of paper and say, we are going to make this sustainable. And so when you look at the new cities coming up, and you're right, people are talking about 9 billion people on Earth, 70% of them in cities. So we still have around the world significant amounts of people moving into cities and significant growth happening. And so whether that's a district of a city like Masdar is, what part of Abu Dhabi, or a brand new city, you say, okay, how do we make this both human-centric? Because people have to live here. Eventually it's about the people. So we started by making the city more walkable, by shifting the whole city to catch prevailing winds, by starting to say, okay, how do we get people to walk and bike and connect and create community centers where people can get their basic needs met by walking. And then, because we have that green field, renewable energy, but also the way the buildings work together. So buildings that use significantly less energy. And if you walk around Masdar City and look at the buildings, most of the time in 2023, since air conditioning and heating were invented, we've used heating and air conditioning to overcome our environment and not use the old architectural techniques that we all used to use to adapt to our environment. So if you see the buildings at Masdar City, you'll see you see buildings that are close to each other, that shade each other, that create that comfort area outside, but then also you see about 40% glass. So the natural light goes in, but instead of having 100% glass, which lets in the direct sunlight into the windows and and it heats up the building, causing more air conditioning. So we want to use both the master planning and the buildings to reduce the consumption that we have here. And we actually think that actually provides a superior lifestyle for people that are being here, that being sustainable actually makes your life better.
Okay, thank you for your answer, and thank you very much for joining us, Steve.
Oh, it's my privilege. And it's exciting. One of the things that's most exciting about Masdar City is having companies like Volts, companies that want to create that sustainable future and bring technologies. I love what you're doing with the battery storage, particularly as we want to be more sustainable. As we move to more renewable energy, we need to cover that 7 o'clock cooking, that 7 o'clock time, right? When the sun doesn't shine and the wind really hasn't started to generate all the power yet, that we're going to need more storage solutions. We're going to need more distributed generation, but also more distributed storage. And your company is enabling that. So we're honored to have you as part of Masdar City.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for bringing us here and helping in that process. And following that point, let's go to discuss the catalyst, right? So, Suleiman, you know that the United Arab Emirates has recently become a land of opportunity for passionate achievers and talented people from all over the world. And actually, Catalyst company that you represent here, actually enabling that possibility for companies like Volts and many others to locate themselves here and to start the global expansion. So, how do you think how all these initiatives are going to change the UAE by, let's say, 2030, and what global and local impacts all those initiatives will have?
That's a great question. Thank you, Artem. And obviously, I agree with everything Steve said, and I think this inspiration, this innovation really stems from the commitment and the drive from the government, right? The government has an innovative mandate where they're promoting entrepreneurs and bringing new energies, and we have obviously a strategy to move away from traditional fossil fuel to different kinds of businesses to diversify the economy. And I think being in Masdar City, it's a really great kind of bed for us to be in, because Masdar City also promotes this innovation and this clean energy kind of lifestyle. What we see as from the Catalyst is a lot more companies nowadays, a lot more startups are transitioning to become clean tech or green tech or under the umbrella of sustainability. For us at Catalyst, being the first clean tech accelerator and venture investor in the region, we get to see firsthand these really innovative companies coming in before anyone else gets to see it. They have the opportunity to start their business here, to pilot their projects here, and to really expand out of Masdar City, which is the sustainable tech ecosystem of Abu Dhabi. So going to your question about what does it look like in 2030, I think with this continued drive from the government to push these clean initiatives, to push promotion of clean tech and sustainability, we're going to see a lot more startups coming into this space, a lot more startups kind of disrupting the day-to-day kind of businesses that people are working in now. And I think it'll be a general kind of acceptance of clean tech and sustainability in the future. I mean, what we're seeing now is usually in venture capital, startups in clean tech, they stay away from them just because, there's a lot of risk associated with them. There's manufacturing risk. You guys are focused on hardware, which is not something that VCs tend to focus on, which is software, right? The special thing, and I think the competitive advantage that Catalyst has, is that we understand those pain points of clean technology development. We understand that you guys don't necessarily take the 3 months or 6 months that software companies do to evolve and grow. And we understand that because we're backed by, two energy juggernauts, Masdar City and BP, who really understand and are really supporting our initiative. And by, providing the capital and the support and mentorship and value creation, business development that we do for these startups, this is the perfect opportunity for companies to come to Masdar City, register here, and to really grow out of Masdar City and eventually globally. So 2030 is going to be a very different picture than what it is today. I have a feeling, especially here in Masdar City and with the Catalyst, we're going to have multiple different startups that are doing very amazing, innovative things and will be contributing to society as well.
I'm really looking forward to bring myself to 2030 and see Volts amongst the unicorns that will go out of Catalyst, right?
That's right.
Thank you very much for your answer, Suleiman. And let me shift to this side of the camera to let our guests leave when they like. Vladimir, let me come back to the question that I asked in the beginning. How do you think why clean energy and clean energy-based and sustainable lifestyle is not so popular at the moment, and what should we do, all of us, to promote it globally?
Okay, thank you, Artem. Yeah, I have a solution. I have a lot of thoughts, yes, about it, and it's like untrendy now. What is trendy? Yes, the trendy is Kim Kardashian, Cristiano. Yes, different well-known bloggers. Yes, Instagram stars. Yes, and they are not promoting sustainable energy. And my goal, yes, is to make that Cristiano stay with energy storage, with the PV panels on his house. Yes, and promoting this technology not for thousands, but for 100 million people. The most important thing that I'm going to do, that we together are going to do, is to promote it, to make it like popular as it was never before.
Thank you very much. Let me pass this question on to Mr. Chung here, yes? So what do you think? Can we do the green energy approach popular and, let me say this, sexy among young people?
Yeah, youngsters are thinking that sustainable and climate-friendly lifestyle is accepted as something very cool. And they don't even show off that I am a supporter and a participant and driving sustainable lifestyle. So this is the certain trends of promoting green energy and the sustainable lifestyle. But let me explain to you why the transition to green energy and the sustainable development is so difficult. And as you asked, why should we have to try hard to push it, because there are many reasons. What we are doing now is a kind of revolution, industrial revolution, another dimension of industrial revolution, which means that we had the first revolution by coal, second revolution by electricity, third revolution by internet. Now we are moving on to a different dimension of fourth revolution. But this fourth revolution is quite different from the previous revolution. Why? First, second, third revolution happened automatically. We didn't have to push it by the government, or we didn't have to push the people to accept it, but it happened automatically because it was cheaper and more convenient. But the fourth revolution we are now pushing, the green energy revolution, is not cheaper, and it's not very easy to change the lifestyle, and not very convenient in the beginning. This is why we need extra push by the government, by the business, but ultimately it has to be driven by the consumer themselves. It's not just the government or the business, but it should be the consumers' awareness. Their mindset has to be reoriented that based on the awareness. This is something for about our survival. And without lifestyle change, we cannot even have an economy, we cannot even have a society. Based on that kind of understanding, then we need to promote solution for what kind of options we can offer to the consumers. I think technology, like the product, ESS product from Bolt, is a very good example of offering specific option for the consumers to choose. The other option is differentiated price for energy. Green energy has to have a different price, and fossil fuel energy should have a different price. So we need to have a differentiated price for different kind of energy. Even though energy carries the same calorie, but the sources are different, the qualities are different. So we have to have a market price that gives different prices for green energy and brown energy. So this is something we could offer to the consumers. And that without this kind of differentiated options, I think it will be very difficult. But the Bolt's product is a very good example of offering the option for the consumers to choose.
Thank you. And just one more question about what you've said. You said that there has to be different prices for green energy and for brown, let's say, energy. What do you think? Do people really are ready to pay premium to buy green energy?
That's a very interesting question, and very good question, and excellent question. And at the moment, the current situation is half of the population, the people, think that they are willing to pay for it because they care about the climate, they care about their future. But there are half of the population, maybe they are willing, but still they are not capable of, and maybe economically it's not affordable for them. So the whole world is now divided by half and half. Some people can participate and willing to pay for it. Some people cannot afford to pay for it, even though maybe they understand it. So we cannot wait until the whole population come to the same level. So we have to start with the half of the population who are willing to join the revolution. This is my point. This is why we have to offer different price. So certain people can join to pay for it, while the other people, they can remain until they are capable of paying for it. So we should start with those willing people who are ready to join and paying for the green energy price.
Thank you. I think we should, tackle the first half of the population that you've said, and
That's
for
right.
another half, we will have
We still need some
Cristiano
time.
Ronaldo and others. We will try to persuade them to popularize the approach much more. Yeah, Suleiman, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add to Mr. Chung's point there. I think a lot of it has to do with also educating the consumer at some point, right? a lot of the time these consumers, they don't understand the difference between, conventional or sustainability and what the effects are and what the results will be. And, I think when we're talking about the Volts battery itself, I think the product and the hardware that you install, accompanied with the software and the dashboard that you provide to these consumers, really educate them to a level where they understand what is the difference in which they're buying, right? These things will completely transform their homes. It'll eventually save them energy down the future. If you have an EV, you can potentially have a fully, equipped house that is basically charging and recharging itself and giving out energy, and you'll be fully self-sustainable. So I think it really comes down to educating the consumer to some level, and I think you guys are doing a fantastic job of that with the dashboard that you provide with this product.
Can I add on what Suleiman just mentioned? Education is very important, and your product can set some kind of example. And what I'm saying is the differentiated pricing scheme will give an opportunity for some consumers to show example by action. By action. The actions can inspire the rest of the people. So the rest of the people can be inspired by those who are willing and pioneer to be the driver of a new trend. So I hope, ultimately, in the long run, the rest of the half of the population will be inspired and that they can join in the long run. This is my expectation. And another very important point, Dr. Suleiman just mentioned that we cannot just give a lecture to the people, but we can show them that, just like the Bolt product, ESS product shows that it can be a business opportunity. You can make money. Not only just is pain and effort, just learning something, but in the end, we have to show by example that, no, this is an opportunity to make money and also make our life even more convenient. Then people will be inspired. Oh, it is a new opportunity, not just a burden. Then they will be jump in and join. And then I think the popularization of green energy and the transformation of industry, I think that will be happening more smoothly. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for your answer. And actually, Mr. Chung, you've said something about transition from the third industrial revolution to the fourth one, right? And this I want to ask a question to Mr. Oleg Budargin, right? Mr. Oleg, you managed, I think the biggest grid systems globally in the world, and you are also now dealing with ambitious projects like interconnections between big energy systems and in Central Asia, with China, Japan, and things like that. So what do you think? Before, through the third industrial revolution, big energy companies were, they were taking the main place in the energy system. But now they say that this focus is shifting, and now the consumer becomes the center of the energy system. How do you feel that? And I would be glad to hear your perspective on this question.
Спасибо большое. Это очень такой важный вопрос, наверное, не только для меня, для всех живущих на этой планете. Место и роль электроэнергии.
Thank you. It's a very good question, and it's not only important for me, but for the whole people who live on this planet.
В начале моего пути в энергетика вообще была это большая роскошь. Не каждый мог себе позволить подключиться к энергосистеме, и энергосистема в первую очередь удовлетворяла потребности больших потребителей, больших компаний. И человек был уже на последнем месте.
So first of all, when he started his career, the energy was like a luxury. Not everybody could have access. Only the big corporations, big clients could have access. The last was the person, the consumer.
И только в последний период времени произошли серьезные изменения, когда энергетика стала обязательным условием нового качества жизни человека.
And only recently we see this shift that the energy became the something common for each person on this planet, access to the comfortable life.
И самым главным заказчиком и оценщиком качества электроэнергии, доступности электроэнергии является сегодня конкретный потребитель.
And only the consumer of the energy is the real buyer and is the real rate giver for that quality of energy.
Я поддерживаю тезис, который мистер Шейман сказал, и здесь присутствующие, что самый главный вопрос сейчас это в качестве образования и культуры конкретного человека, где бы он ни жил.
I support the statement of the speakers of Mr. Suleiman that it's important the quality of the energy and it doesn't matter where the consumer lives and the process of education.
Сегодня потребитель, человек диктует, какая ему нужна энергия, что он хочет сделать, используя эту энергию для совершенствования своего качества жизни.
So the consumer is the one who dictates what kind of energy he needs, what he wants to do with it.
Но на этом пути много преград, которые вот и наши компании, и я благодарен, что в свое время мы познакомились 10 лет тому назад с мистером Чонгом, с доктором Чонгом, который стал моим таким, он изменил мои мозги.
But howsoever, on this way, on this road, we faced a lot of hurdles and obstacles, and I'm very grateful that 10 years ago he met you, doctor, and you change his view, you change his
Мы
mindset.
каждый год с доктором Чонгом подводим итоги премии, международной премии «Глобальная энергия».
Every year with Dr. Chung, you conclude the awards of the International Energy Awards.
И нас всегда волнует, кроме научного изобретения, кроме новых каких-то решений в области энергетики, как дальше это реализуется в конкретной жизни.
And the matter that concern us, apart from awards, apart from some new solution in the energy sector, what will be the next step? How it will be realized or implemented?
Что мне приятно удивило в Масдаре, и то, что компания Volt здесь нашла, это то, что объединение науки, образования и производства в одном центре.
Which surprised and impressed him that in Masdar you combine this achievement like company Volt of the technology, of scientific merits and education as well.
Вот только в союзе вот этих трех составляющих можно решить проблемы, которые стоят сейчас перед человечеством.
And if we combine, and we did already, we can solve the problems that face the humanity in general.
Эти проблемы хорошо были сконцентрированы комплексно Организацией Объединенных Наций в определении 17 целей устойчивого развития в 2015 году.
And those positions were stipulated in the United Nations resolution.
И мы с вами, единомышленники, отлично понимаем, что ни одна цель не будет достигнута, пока не будет достигнута одна из 17. Доступная электроэнергия для каждого человека.
And as the speakers and as the similar thinkers, we understand that none of solution can be achieved unless one of the 17 positions of this resolution
Доступная
will be achieved.
как финансово, так и физически.
And that is the access to the energy in the physical way and in financial way.
Сегодня физически миллиард человек на планете имеет возможности пользоваться электроэнергией.
Today, in current world, in 1 billion people have no access
Финансово еще больше не имеет
to the energy.
возможности.
And if we talk about financial aspect, more
Доступность
people,
чистой энергии еще больше не
and the
имеет
clean energy
возможности
is
подключиться.
less even.
Поэтому одна из возможностей доступности к чистой энергии – это, конечно, решение интеграции энергосистем мира.
So the access to the clean energy is the solution in the integrated world.
Через интеграцию объединения энергосистем можно сбалансировать потребление и выпуск чистой энергии в мире.
So if we combine or integrate clean energy, we can get the better access to it in the entire world.
Вольц как раз это тот инструмент, который стучится в дом каждому потребителю, который как раз пропагандирует чистую энергию и современную энергию.
So Volt is a kind of tool, and it's a kind of knocking each and every door, and they propagate or they bring awareness of the clean and sustainable energy.
И пока таких примеров будет мало, нам будет сложнее реализовать все эти 17 принципов.
And the less examples we have, the harder it's going to be for us to realize the 17 principles.
Потому что самые главные заказчики на изменения – это потребители, это человек.
Because we focus on the consumer, he is the main buyer, the main consumer of the green
Чистая
energy.
энергия и доступная энергия должно быть модным.
And he believes that it should be also a trend. The green and clean energy should be a trend. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your answer. And Mr. Budargin, you've raised a very important question about the access to electricity, access to energy, and that under 1 billion people now, they don't now have access to energy. So in the light of the COP28 and of the COP28, COP generally being criticized that it is the gathering of people, of presidents coming here, wasting business jet fuel and not making, big changes from these talks. I want to ask you, Vladimir, a question. Is there other ways to reach out to these billion people who don't have access to electricity and provide them with the electricity and also clean electricity, not dirty, brown kind of it?
Yeah. It's nowadays with the development of the mobile phones, of the laptops and the EV cars, the technology of the lithium battery reduced, I think, 5 times. And instead for this, for example, African or South Asia country, or instead of building huge power plants, to invest a lot of amounts of money, to provide electricity to the end user, the solution with PV panels, energy storage, wind farms, can give electricity for everyone. It's like we can compare it with like mobile phones. In a lot of African countries, the people don't have the wired phones, because the wired need to huge investment from the government of the big companies, and they have mobile phones. And the same situation with the electricity. Instead of the construction high voltage substation power lines, you just buy energy storage, small solar kits, and you have electricity. And nowadays it's a time to make electricity affordable for everyone.
That is great. Yeah, that is really great. I think that the things that you said means you can use energy storage to provide the consumer with electricity that is clean, but still affordable.
It's like
this is like a solving of a dilemma.
Yes, and it will be the only one way to solve this problem, and from the scratch the people start to use green energy.
Yeah, great, thank you for your answer. And now I would like to come back to Mr. Chung here, our very honored guest at this discussion. And Mr. Chung, we all know that, as I said, you've been thinking about climate change for decades, right? And you were the one who drafted the UNFCCC, which is actually UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, that is being used during COPs, to assess progress in tackling climate change. So please tell us the story, how it all started. What was your motivation back then, and what would you have done differently now, if you would?
Actually, the original vision, when we were drafting UNFCCC convention, we would like to have a legally binding climate regime. But we end up, after almost 20 or 30 years of exercise, end up with the Paris Climate Agreement, which is voluntary pledge and review, which is called NDC. So there's no legally binding obligation. It's just a voluntary mechanism. So for me, who started from 91, we lost 3 decades by arguing between developed and developing country, who should bear the responsibility. Right. And we end up nobody bearing any responsibility. This is the situation. So we have to only rely on voluntary willingness, and there is no guarantee this voluntary contribution, so-called nationally determined contribution, NDC, will be sufficient enough to combat the 1.5 degree warming. This is a big issue. So in retrospect, if we were to end up with this kind of voluntary mechanism, we should have started it in '92. We didn't have to waste 3 decades to came up with this kind of a non-binding agreement. If we were aiming to have this kind of a non-binding agreement, we could have done it in 1992, and we could have started it right away. So we have wasted 3 decades. So that was one of the very sad story. But now, in order to correct at this point, at this juncture, is to focus on the emission from consumption, not just from production. That's one of the most serious mistake the UNFCCC is now doing. All the IRENA and the UNFCCC Secretariat, they are calculating CO2 emission based on GDP, each country's domestic production. So very important, interesting question. If Korea is exporting Hyundai car to United States, the emission from Hyundai car manufacturing, the responsibility lies in Korea. But we are not using it. We are only sending it to United States.
Absolutely.
The Americans are driving it. But this United States and the American consumer is not bearing any responsibility. That's the current climate regime. The UNFCCC data, statistics is based on consumption, on production. So this is the irony and dilemma. So another very interesting problem of this methodology is that, for example, if Bolt is producing energy storage system in Abu Dhabi, then the emission in the process of making Bolt ESSS, the responsibility will lie in Masdar City and the UAE, even though it is going to be exported and going to be used by the European consumers. But European consumers are free. They don't take any responsibility for using this product. So this is the current situation. This is one of the most serious problems, as I see, from the current climate regime. We have to change it. So we have to add the consumer's responsibility in our exercise of reducing or coming up with NDC. This is why I am proposing PDC, personally determined contribution. It includes all the consumption. So each person has to be responsible for their consumption. And so they should try to change their lifestyle to be more sustainable. So each one of us should make our own contribution. This kind of personal contribution could add up to be national contribution. So my argument is that we cannot achieve NDC target without PDC support. But at the moment, nobody is talking about PDC. We are only talking about NDC. But NDC is a very ambiguous and very hollow concept. Who is a nation? Who is a national? What do you mean by that? Who is the real actor? Actually, government cannot do it alone. And it has to be the consumer. So this is the kind of two very important dilemma we are facing now.
And how do you think, let me give everyone one more question. Many countries and companies have established net zero goals. Someone said that they are going to achieve net zero by 2050, someone earlier, someone later. But Mr. Chung, let's start from you. What do you think? Are those goals real, or are they politically, created? And what should we really do? And following what you said, we should ask ourselves at first, what should each one of us do, to achieve those goals? And to help everyone achieve those goals.
As I told you, I have been doing this business of climate change negotiations since '91. So during those 3 decades, I have seen many failures. We already had many failures. We tried in Kyoto Protocol. We tried the Copenhagen Accord. Same exercise, setting the target and we are trying to come up with like a political statement, commitment, pledges. In 2009, at the Copenhagen, more than 130 countries, they pledged their target for reduction, like 30%, 40%, or they did it already for 2020. But it was a total failure. When actually 2020 came, even the government do not even remember. They made a pledge in 2009. In 2009, United States made a 25% reduction commitment, China 40%, Korea 30%, Japan 30%. All the government made a commitment in 2009 by 2020. But when actually 2020 came, nobody even talked about it. Nobody even remember who made what pledge. This was the situation. I'm sure by 2030, I hope the same thing should not be repeated. And I hope we could be better than that. But this is the situation that voluntary political pledge does not guarantee it will be actually realized. So this is a very serious issue that we have to be very serious about it.
Okay, let's see what will happen in future. And Vladimir, let's not talk about governments, right? What do you think people should? What responsibility should people take responsibility upon themselves to be more sustainable? Maybe not net zero, but something like that.
Yeah, you know, I think like a PDC conception. It's why I like it. Yes, for my personal, you know, this it's not guilty or blame government or put the responsible from myself to someone outside of my life. Yes, it's a wrong methodology. You know, you have to put responsibility on yourself, and therefore you have first things you have to stop to blaming everyone. You have to blame yourself.
Right.
What you are going to make tomorrow to achieve these goals, and I think this is the very simple way to achieve the goals. Like a Mr. Chung conception, me first. Yes, I will do it by myself, and then I will by my habits, I will my behavior, I will show another that it can work.
Я бы дополнил здесь. Очень важно понимать, что новый технологический цикл впервые своей целью видит конкретного человека, конкретного потребителя. И все эти новые инновации, они преследуют целью повышения качества жизни.
So any new technological cycle see as the consumer the comfort of him, and it's made like that.
И новые технологии, они не имеют границ. Они не национальные новые технологии, они распространяются на всю территорию земного шара.
And this kind of new technologies, they are not limited with some land or some territory. They are propagated on entire universe.
И роль государств в продвижении технологий и новой энергии здесь минимальна. Самое главное здесь заказчик и локомотив продвижения новых технологий. Это позиция, это культура, это голосование конкретного человека. Это его позиция. И он будет давить на все институты, которые сегодня существуют, а может быть роль каких-то институтов и будет значительно преуменьшена в связи с тем, что на первый план выходит позиция потребителя, позиция человека.
And maybe some institutes will play some role or diminish their role, but the first place is for the consumer.
И в первую очередь доступность человека, физическая, финансовая, и к чистой энергии, доступность чистой энергии.
The financial access, clean energy access.
Поэтому Вольц должен зайти в каждую квартиру.
So Waltz should knock each door.
И там это первая реклама, это первая пропаганда нового качества жизни.
and it will be the first advertisement, the first marketing strategy for the new Bears
И,
lifestyle.
конечно, надо все сделать нам для того, чтобы вот те предложения, науки, они быстрее внедряли в жизнь.
And from our side, we need to do everything possible for all these suggestions in the scientific should be implemented in people's lifestyle.
So let's win people's hearts, right? This will help reaching sustainable goals. This is what we, I think, unite.
Надо
unite
помочь
about.
доктору Чону.
Yeah, we
We
have
need to
to.
help Dr. Chung to do that.
Yeah, let's help to implement the ideas of Mr. Chung in reality. Yeah?
That's right. That's right.
To finalize our talk, if we started to discuss personal determination, personal accountability, I would like to ask everyone about their goals for 2023 in the big, in reaching the big goals that we've, created some time ago. What do you plan for 2023 to help climate change, energy transition, and implementation of these ideas?
Actually, I already started in Korea the social campaign for PDC, personal determined contribution. So I'm going to start with some of my supporters that we should start a Me First carbon pay voluntary campaign. And I'm very much now in the process of organizing it. And I hope this kind of movement, social movement, can be spread out throughout the world. And the people can hear the message and they can join this kind of global effort to change and going for green energy transition.
Great, great. So all of those who develop the green products, I think, have to go now to South Korea, since Mr. Chung has plans for starting this social campaign, right?
Yeah.
And Vladimir, what are your goals for 2023?
Okay, I put two goals, okay, personal. The first is to establish production of energy storage, first in Middle East, here in Abu Dhabi, in Masdar, in this year. But it's like relay on business, yes. And about myself, when Mr. Chung are going to start this social campaign about me first, I will attract well-known Instagram star to promote this conception.
Okay, great.
Вот я вижу свою роль, это здесь ничего, наверное, нового нет. Довериться новому поколению, довериться молодежи и все эти знания, которые есть, опыт, посвятить для поддержки нового поколения, чтобы они максимально быстро реализовали те идеи, которыми мы все, смысл жизни, который у нас.
So he sees his role as to put himself fully in the hands of the new generation with his knowledge and expertise to share with them and pave the way for the future of the life that we all need on this planet.
Быть всегда молодым и модным.
And his plans also to always be young and to always be trendy.
This is such a great ambition. I think at this point I would like to finalize and draw a line under our talk. Let's have a great 2023. Let's show everyone in this year of sustainability what products we have and all of our ideas. And we still hope that COP28 could help change a lot in climate change tackling process. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.